Representation matters. But as indigenous Chicano people, we can't just sit back and wait for mainstream media outlets to make it happen for us. And nor should we. We started the Tales From Aztlantis podcast because we believe that it is imperative for Chicanos, Chicanas, and Chicanx people to produce our own media and tell our own stories. And the way we choose to do this is by using Buzzsprout to host the podcast. Buzzsprout is by far the easiest and best way to launch a professional podcast. You'll get a podcast website, audio players that you can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, tools to promote your episodes, and much more. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in the show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you and helps support the show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast. Now, on with the show.
You must excuse me. I've grown quite weary.
This hasn't been easy, I know. But you've learned a lesson. A lesson in honesty. Honesty to yourself and honesty to others. That lesson will stand you in good stead all your life.
I think we've all learned a good lesson. I've always heard that honesty is the best policy. Now I'm catching on to why that's so,
Welcome, dear listener, to Tales from Aztlantis. Join us each week as we cast a critical eye on Mesoamerican pseudohistory, New Age nonsense, archaeological misconceptions, and more. We are your hosts, Kurly Tlapoyawa
and Ruben Arellano, also known as Tlakatekatl.
We're going to take this opportunity to say Tlaskamati, thank you for joining us, and give you an idea of what you can expect from this show. Allow me to introduce my co-host, Dr. Ruben Arellano Tlakatekatl. Ruben Arellano Tlakatekatl is a scholar, activist, and professor of history. His research explores Chicano indigeneity, Mexican indigenist nationalism, and Coahuiltecan identity resurgence. Other areas of research include Aztlan, the U.S. Southwest, Anawak, Mesoamerica, and Native North America. He has presented and published widely on these topics and has taught courses at various institutions. He currently teaches history at Dallas College, Mountain View campus.
Thank you, Kurly. Now let me introduce you. My co-host is Kurly Tlapoyawa. He is an archaeologist, ethnohistorian, and filmmaker. His research covers Mesoamerica, the American Southwest, and the historical connections between the two regions. He is the author of numerous books and has presented lectures at the University of New Mexico, Yale University, San Diego State University, and numerous others. He is currently a professor of Chicano Studies at the Colegio Chicano del Pueblo, a free online educational institution.
Just so our listeners know, Ruben and I have known each other for many years, and we've remained good friends through all of those years.
Supposedly.
And the reason we're doing this podcast is these topics have great interest to both of us. These are things that we've experienced, that we've lived through. We both came up through the Mexicayot as danzantes Aztecas. We've gone to medicine meetings together and other ceremonies. So we have a wealth of experience on these topics. Now, we both also have careers as educators and researchers. And part of this has been sort of deconstructing and dissecting these things that we were taught and sort of exploring what we found to be factual, what we found to be exaggerations, and what we found to be completely made up. I think we even started questioning these things around the same time.
We did. I think when I first met you, it must have been sometime around the year 2000, maybe late 99 or 2000. It's been at least a good 20 years since we've known each other. And that was back when you still lived in North Texas. I'm in Dallas and you are in
Right now I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And I remember, like, after you moved away from North Texas, we kept in touch, and I think I used to visit you, maybe not every year, but I would try to go out there in the summer and visit for a day or two, and we would hang out. And so we maintained that connection, and we kept in touch over the years through social media. And I think around the time that I started questioning Mexicayot and a lot of the things that we had come to believe were true, because we were told that these were ancient things that had been passed down to us through generations and elders, etc., was probably around the year 2006, 7, something like that. That's when I started going to community college, that set me on this long road that ended up with my attaining a PhD in history. And so I think on your side of things, you were questioning certain things, and I was questioning certain things, and we would get together back in the old Mexica Eagle Society message board. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And those of you that remember those days, well, I remember having very lively conversations on that board, to say the least, and we would discuss various things, and we would try to track down the origin of for example, the word Ixachilan. I think that's one of the triggers for me that really got me going, like, okay, so I've looked at all these Nahuatl dictionaries, and I've looked at a lot of sources from the colonial period, and the word Ixachilan, or its variants, Ixachilatlan or Ixachilan, or what, it doesn't exist. Where is the source for this? So that's one of the things that started me on this path to questioning a lot of the stuff that we're going to be covering on this show.
Yeah, and speaking of Ixachilan, I remember picking up the book Being Indian in Huayapan, and that is one of the first places where I encountered the character of Juan Luna Cárdenas, who turns out had a hand in the invention and spreading of that word, Ixachilan. So we're going to be talking about him. We're going to be talking about these sorts of topics in the weeks to come, sort of peeling back the layers of the onion and just casting that critical lens on what we've been taught to accept as traditional knowledge. Sometimes it turns out to be, there's truth to it, or sometimes it's completely made up, and usually it's a mix of the two. So if you are interested in Maya gods that never existed, whether the Aztecs taught the Egyptians how to build pyramids, how neo-Aztec nationalist movements helped inform Chicano identity, and what 19th century occultists have to do with early Maya archaeology, then please subscribe to Tales from Aztlantis. We look forward to going on this journey with you all. And remember, the truth is like medicine. It doesn't always taste good, but it's always good for you. Timoitase. Thank you for listening to Tales from Aztlantis, a project of the Chimali Institute of Mesoamerican Arts. If you enjoy the show, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter. You can do this by visiting talesfromaztlantis.com and clicking Support the Podcast. Your continued support will help keep the podcast ad-free and independent. Until next time, Timoitase.